Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the end of the week, a national security and international relations news review and commentary podcast. It is I, your friend, Morgan Houston, aka Whiskey Mo, the internet's least famous academic. I am a scholar of irregular warfare, air power, information. The list continues to grow. I'm super excited to be back this week. Quick request, as always, if you could do all of the YouTube and podcast things to let the algorithm know that you get some value out of this. If you could gently caress that like button, if you could the gong of the notification bell, if you would please subscribe. I'd really appreciate that on both Spotify and on YouTube. I am trying to get to other platforms, but my current podcasting host is making it more difficult than they used to. So I'm trying. I'll get it figured out. But I'm really excited. We've got two interesting stories. One is kind of in the tech vein. The other is news out of NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So I'm really excited to go. So let's get into this. Number one, there's news on unmanned systems within the Navy. There was a great article from Defense One about the purchasing of unmanned systems. Predominantly, the Navy is moving towards purchasing and acquiring medium and large systems that can be used for a variety of mission sets. Right now, the Navy is already purchasing smaller systems that are being used for a lot of different reasons or techniques. But they're looking to really expand to greater usage of unmanned systems. We can already see some of the success that has been happening in Ukraine as Ukraine has successfully attacked and succeeded against the Black Sea Fleet of Russia a few years ago. We're seeing the expanse of unmanned systems. Now, granted, you'll hear unmanned systems and drones be used interchangeably. Technically speaking, drones are a fully autonomous system, even though we call most of the unmanned systems drones. I try and differentiate between the two, even though I am nowhere near an expert on unmanned systems and drone warfare. But that is, from what my understanding is, the differentiation between the two. So one of the things within the story is that the Chief of Naval Operations pretty boldly claimed that DoD is really good at appropriating things quickly and efficiently, and that the one thing that is kind of holding up the process right now for the larger systems is they want to what he called clutching. So, like, for those of you who may not understand that reference, clutch, like when you clutch in a truck, it kind of with a manual gearbox, it sets everything so you can get it into gear, and that's kind of what they're getting at. He was stating that he didn't want to over purchase systems because he didn't want there to be too many where they were just sitting because operations and training tempos were just not meeting up with the time frame and for the amount of systems that were available. The big system that they were looking for, though, was the Modular Attack Surface Craft, the MASC. This is going to have multiple sizes, and what they're looking for here, it's something that can have multiple mission sets, from sensing to anti-surface or anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, mine clearance, all those kinds of things. Like mine clearance is one of those that can be extremely dangerous to ships. So I think this is one of those where an unmanned system will be very, very, very helpful. I'm really interested to see how the acquisitions goes. Right now, one of the things I think that's really exciting is that acquisitions is at the forefront of a lot of these DoD stories. So we'll continue to watch this. I'm really excited to see where this is going to go and to see what the purchasing looks like. Story number two, news came out of NATO headquarters in Brussels this week that there was going to be a realignment of command responsibilities. SACEUR, the Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, has been and will continue to be an American officer. It generally rotates between the Marine Corps, the Army, and the Air Force. But what is being changed are the three joint force commands at Naples, Norfolk, Virginia, and Brunsum. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not exactly sure where that's located, but those are now going to be commanded by European commanders. The Naples Joint Force Command, or Joint Force Command Naples, will be commanded by an Italian officer. The Joint Force Command Norfolk, which is in Virginia, will be commanded by a British officer, and Joint Force Command Brunsum will be alternated between a Polish and German commander. And what this will also do is at the what they call the tactical level, for those of us who are professionals in this industry, it's more of the operational level, the tactical headquarters of Air Command, Land Command, and Naval Command will now be ultimately commanded by American officers and American officers only. So I'm finding this really interesting, this shuffle up. It's going to be interesting to see how this is going to happen, especially with some of the newer steps that are being taken by European NATO allies to expand their spending in defense, to expand their capabilities to a more broader and less niche set of capabilities. It's going to be interesting because I think that it's really important for this to happen. So this is something that is really interesting, and I think that there's going to be some good that comes out of this, and I'm really interested to see where this goes. All right, y'all. So time for a little bit of my commentary. I hope that when we talk about the unmanned systems in the Navy, this idea of clutching and not going all in right away, mostly for the excuse being operational tempo, I think it's still a good thing. I think what we need to see right now is we need to have responsible acquisitions within the DoD. We've talked about it previously on the podcast. It takes 16 years from systems to go from RFP to fielding within a service, and I think that's too long. But I also I'm always concerned about the fact that DoD has never fully passed an audit. The Marine Corps is the only branch of the military that has successfully passed an audit. And I think it's really important that we look at our acquisition systems. And I think as we expand the opportunities here for unmanned systems, and I think that's an important discussion to have, like where do they fit within the scope of our operations and tactical environments, because they are the future. However, I think that history has always proven that the human is the ultimate winner of warfare. The infantry essentially is going to always be the foundation of successful warfare. So I'm interested to see how this is going to work. I think the Navy should be one of the premier branches to work with unmanned systems because of the scope of their operating environment. Then the oceans are vast and they cover so much of the earth, and there's only so much that the American naval forces can cover at any one given time, even with satellites and constant surveillance systems that we have. And in the event that anti-satellite warfare becomes a thing, unmanned systems may be something good, but that may also something that we need to look at and plan for, because if satellites go down, how does that handle our unmanned systems? So I hope that they're talking about hardening these things. I hope that these things are part of the request for proposals. I'm very excited to see where this goes for. I think one of the things that we should be taking lessons from is the way that unmanned systems are being utilized in Ukraine, but I think we also need to understand that they are not going to win wars, right? It's like air power. Air power doesn't win wars. Air power supports those things that win wars, right? And that is the fighting man and woman on the ground. So I'm very excited to see where this goes. I hope that I will continue to say this, I think one of the good things that the Trump administration is constantly doing right now is trying to revitalize the defense industrial base and to bring it back to some bit of former glory, because post-World War II, the defense industrial base was a phenomenal thing. Now, I think there are some reasons to worry about a new one. We had the warning of the worry about the military-industrial complex. But I think if we can broaden it out instead of having it within only 5 major contractors, I think that'll help as well. Now for the NATO bit, I like this. This is actually going to be a fairly complimentary episode on the current administration. While I don't think the way that we have been speaking about our allies currently is very good, I think some of the results have come about are wonderful. The increased spending across NATO, the fact that now we are going to be placing allied commanders within such important roles. Like these joint force commands are essentially a step below the SACI, or the Supreme Allied Commander in Europe. And I think it's really important that we have full integration with our allies. And honestly, I like the idea of having rotating commanders. I would like to see non-permanent commanders where it's not just the UK who is commanding Norfolk or the Italians within Naples. I would love to see a rotation of commanders, especially since the United States has a monopoly on SACEUR and the tactical commands. I think it would be great to see more, and not because I do fear that it may become a prestige assignment where it's more given for kudos as being a good follower instead of a good tactician, strategist, and operational artist. But I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'm really excited to see what NATO looks like in the near future. I think as much as I deride the current administration for the language that they speak about our allies and our partners, because it's really important that we have good relations with our allies and partners, because we've never fought a war solo. I think some of the benefits that have come of some of the actions that they have taken is that now we have really strong or partners that are becoming stronger in what they are doing, and it's going to only get better as the time goes on. So this is a short one, guys. I've got stuff going on in my life. Luckily, some of it led me to being home this week. But as always, if you want to help me out as I'm having to deal with some of these life things, you can click the links in the description. There you will find links to Patreon, to my Substack, to all of my other links. You can find some fun things there, some serious things there. And as always, why don't you do all of the social media requirements to make my life a little bit easier? Go ahead, click the subscribe button. That really does help. It shows that you're getting value from this, and I really appreciate all those of you who do subscribe. Gently caress that like button, as that will tell the algorithm that someone actually enjoyed listening to what I think is a mellifluous voice. And then also, if you want that notification bell to let you know that someone who has a mellifluous voice is speaking, I would really appreciate it. And if you all have stories that you are tracking, go ahead, and why not just go ahead and comment down below if you want to hear my opinion or my thoughts on it. I'm really excited to engage with you in the comments. There have been a few on some of the shorts that I've posted. I disagree with them because they're just, honestly, I'm not sure if they're bots or if they're just bloviating. But hey, if I hear them, I read them, so you know that I'm reading them. But as always, y'all, I hope that life will treat you well, and I hope to see you again at the end of the week.